Everybody always wonders, is Honda reliable anymore? Well, here we have a transmission core from a Honda HR-V, and we're going to tear it apart to see just what failed. Taking a quick look around here, looks like there was an accumulator sitting here. We've got our valve body hookup for the computer, input and output speed sensors. This is where the shifter would be, and it looks like the dipstick would sit over here. Over on the front here, we've got the input shaft where the torque converter would be, and another speed sensor for the final drive. I like how Honda uses 3/8 instead of an actual bolt here for the drain. It's black. As you can see, I have a drain pan down below, don't worry. Well, for one, the drain plug magnet is coated with sludge. Let's open up the carnage side of the transmission first, where we have the CVT belt. There's a bunch of 10mm bolts going around. Hey, the belt is actually intact. Take a look inside this Honda CVT. I can see the belt is in fact intact. They did have an extended warranty recall for this. The belt in fact is a little bit on the looser side, which tells me that maybe the variator is not applying enough pressure at the moment, and it's also relatively easy to rotate. There's an oil feed that goes to the casing here, and that's ultimately what's going to feed the variator on this side pressure so that it can push up against the belt. Here you've got the little lever that's going to punch out, and on the casing it's going to lock into this gear over here, so you have your park locked out. Let's move on to the belt housing, where we have lots of 12mm bolts going all the way around. There we go. Taking a look inside this Honda CVT, you can see we've got a final drive over here. Now this is where the front axles are going to plug into. This is not an all-wheel drive. Otherwise you'd have an extra flange where the transfer case would plug into the differential housing. Here we have a counter shaft, and this is the output coming from the secondary variator over on the other side. On this side here we have what looks like a valve body with a manual valve, which is where the shifter would hook up to. And then we have a chain which drives the oil pump at the bottom. Alright, so the counter shaft and the final drive just pops right off. There's nothing holding it in. I'm going to remove all these 10 mils actually. I'm going to remove all the 10mm bolts that hold this valve body on this side here. There's two 14mm bolts here. These look like banjo bolts because they got holes in them. I'll pull this guy out. This is like the top half of the valve body. Alright, so there's this little circlip inside of here. And you squeeze open, and then the oil pump bearing and shaft comes out. Then I can take the chain out. Tiny little chain. Now it appears there's actually two bolts threaded in from behind, so I'm going to have to take the trans pan off next. Alright, I'm going to remove the transmission pan. This is the stuff you don't see on camera. This one's rounded out. I've got a hammer on a socket. Wake up my neighbors on a Sunday morning. Yeah, it still doesn't work. And this was the reason why God invented imperial sockets, not because of the Americans. You can escape, but you can't hide. Alright, inside the transmission pan, there's a lot of metal particles stuck to the magnets inside of here. And by the way, this is where your drain port is, so you will have some residual fluid down at the bottom here when you do an oil change. And the fluid in here is really black. When you get to the valve body, things get pretty oily, so if you run into the washroom and grab the hand towel, you can use that nice and then just blame the kid when it comes out dirty. Next up, I'm going to remove all the 10mm bolts that hold this valve body on. Alright, now I'm going to remove pieces of the valve body. This is the, oh my goodness, this thing's got a heart attack going here. Look at that, it's clogged. I'm going to pop this guy off here. Valve body, it's got two solenoids on it. Another plate. Then we got another valve body at the bottom here. Now if you remember the two bolts that went in from this side, they're over here, and it looks like I'm going to need a shallow 12 to take those out. Okay, bad design Honda. Can't even get a shallow 12 on that one. Maybe on this one. Let's see. It was a bit weird using a wrench inside of a transmission. I should have designed this better. Maybe put the bolt in from the other way. Alright, after a lot of prying, I'm able to pop this guy out. And that's because you have to pop through these little pipes out. There's an electrical plug here to remove. Does not want to come through. That's fine. Alright, now I can remove the oil pump. Now back up at the front of the transmission, this piece of the valve body from the front and this bearing here that holds the oil pump drive came off. This piece just pops off. This did have a bit of a springy action to it, so it jumped out. This here would form the stator for the torque converter. It does not rotate, and I wonder if there was a sleeve in the torque converter that drives the oil pump. That would make more sense to me. Now this front valve body here is actually going to redirect fluid through this piece, through these holes over here, and it's going to go to the holes inside of here to feed this clutch. Now this is your forward and reverse clutch because the transmission CVT still needs a planetary gear set to determine direction. The input shaft can pop out this way. Looks like we have a clutch in here. We'll take a look at that. Now that clutch is going to feed this gear, which goes into the planetary gear set. Now before I remove that, I got to pop the speed sensor out of the way. This is the input shaft speed sensor. And there's the input speed sensor. it's going to take its reading from this reluctor ring on the outside here. Got some snap rings here next. Okay, this band, there's a snap ring inside of here, and thanks to these snap ring pliers, pop it off. That went flying. I'm going to turn this transmission over and see what comes out. So we got one burnt up clutch. Yeah, this is really black. It's not looking good. We get another snap ring in here. I can take out this gear set here. This is the planetary gear set. Looks like we got the planet carrier on the outside, and this would be the sun gear. So the input actually clutches to the sun gear. Now I've got a return spring for the piston, and then the actual piston itself, which I'm sure is pressed in there. Alright, I've never done this before. Let's see if it's going to work. There we go, it did work. Piston's got a seal on the inside and the outside, and they look intact. Alright, I'm going to see if I can beat this out. Oh, that was easy. Turn this upside down here. On the other side, I'm going to try to remove this counter gear over here. This thing's not budging, bro. So I was making all that racket, the CVT belt actually came apart on me. So as you can see, here's the belt. There's two steel bands that wrapped around it. It's coming apart into millions of pieces, which I'm now gonna have to sweep up. Taking a close look at the belt's construction, you can see we have these two slots over here, and that corresponds to the two belts over here. You can see that the belts are made up of hundreds of these little pieces here, and because they're squished together in this variator, they don't just normally come apart like this. You really have to have catastrophic failure, like one of these belts actually snapping before that could happen, or you lose tension on both variators, then this will happen. And that's kind of what happened here. I pulled this variator out and I lost tension on it, and everything just fell apart. Now taking a closer look at the cross section here, you can see there's a slope on this side and a slant over on this side, and that's going to correspond to the angles here on the variator cone. So you can see right here in its close position, the belt pieces are actually going to line up with those angles properly here, and then when the variator opens up, this piece is actually going to ride further down, but the angles are exactly the same. Now the variator normally applies a lot of inward pressure to squeeze this belt, so that you got a lot of compression over here, and that way the belt doesn't slip. These belts also have a little nub on them, so they lock into the previous one, and that way they can all stay in line with each other. Now, unfortunately, there's no easy way to get this variator out, and that's because there's no easy access to those bolts inside of there that hold the variator bearing onto the case. I wish they put in the bolts from this side so it'd be easy to just pop them off, and with this counter gear pressed on there real good, I don't have access to the nut for the inner sleeve of the bearing. Now with everything disassembled, let's take a closer look at how this works. This is the primary variator. It receives its torque from the clutch setup, which has a planetary gear set and is ultimately powered by the engine. In order to vary the gear ratio, you change the distance between these two cones. So for example, if it's all the way wide, the belt is essentially going to ride all the way near the bottom over here, and that's going to create a smaller gear ratio over on this side. Likewise, on the output side, you would want to create maximum tension on that belt, so you'd squeeze these two together. That belt will now be riding up on the outside over here. You can't go down any further. Now a smaller gear powering a larger gear gives you a torque multiplication and also a speed reduction, so that would be ideal for a first or reverse gear setup. Likewise, on the highway, you don't need that much torque, but you need speed, so you close this one up. That would give you a large gear ratio, and then you would open this one up, so you have a large driving a small, which gives you a speed increase, but not that much torque. Now the cool thing with CVTs is that you can infinitely vary how much the ratio is depending on how much pressure you send inside of here. There's no fixed ratio of gears, like for example in a manual transmission where you have first, second, third, and fifth. This one you can vary anywhere in between that to give you the optimal amount of torque based on the engine's performance. That's also what gives you that rubber band effect when you're driving, because the CVT is always moving in and out in order to vary the gear ratio so that you can have the optimal amount of engine performance when you're stepping on it, but also economy when you're not stepping on it. Now with Honda transmissions, the belts were actually a common failure on these. They would just wear down. Honda actually did extend the warranty on them, so make sure you check to see if you're actually covered before replacing it with a used one. Now in order to give you that constant variation, you need to keep adding fluid inside of here in order to pressurize this tank or depressurize the tank and constantly monitor how much you add inside of there, like a closed loop control circuit. And that's where all of these hydraulic pipes come into play. Let's take a look at the reason why this transmission failed. This here is the first clutch setup, which drives the sun gear for the planetary gear set. I'm going to remove the snap ring. And check that out, you can see that these clutches are actually burnt up. Clutches comprise of friction discs and bands. You can see these bands are okay, but the friction discs are absolutely black and they're burnt out. That means that even if this clutch was applied, it would probably have some degree of slip to it because there's not much friction over here that can hold it from rotating. And inside of here you can see the holes that would drive this piston in order to lock that up against that snap ring. Here we have the planetary gear set. This is the sun gear, which is the input. Then we have the ring gear, which is on the output, and then of course the planet carrier. Now the main function of this is of course to provide your reverse gear. You can see as I turn the sun gear, the ring gear moves in the opposite direction. However, if I were to lock up both of these clutches, this entire thing would turn in the same direction as the engine to give you your forward gear. Now unfortunately, the clutch that went around here was the main cause of failure. You can see that all the friction bands are all burnt up, and the steel bands also have some friction marks on them as well. That's because this piston here is trying to apply a lot of pressure. If the fluid pressure is low or if it's very dirty, it's going to start to slip and eventually burn out. Now the valve body is like the brains of the transmission. Essentially these solenoids that are built in here are going to command where the fluid goes to lock up those appropriate clutches or to send pressure to the variator. In this case I found a bit of carbon buildup over here. You can see it's like a big paste. This is not usual in the transmission, which is why I suspect that the transmission fluid went dirty, it was contaminated, and this transmission was probably overheated. Now let's take a look at this oil pump. I do see an electrical connector here for it, so this looks interesting. You do have your inlets and outlets over here. Let's pull this apart. You can see the transmission fluid is all dark. Got some of my brother's old shorts here. I'm going to just wipe this up before it causes a mess. I'm going to pull out the solenoid here. There is a little screen in there and I do see a few dots in there. So essentially oil is going to come into this open cavity over here and the veins are going to squish it out over to this port over here, and that's how you generate that fluid flow. And I can tell you this whole thing smells horrible, like burnt transmission fluid. Can I pull this out? Oh, there goes all the veins. Here we go, we got a steel plate. Again, more dirty transmission fluid. I do see a valve over here, and that valve is going to regulate the pressure. In my opinion, it's almost like a part of the valve body. It's quite a complicated setup for just an oil pump. Now if you got a Honda CVT and you don't want this or this to happen to you, make sure you at least change out your transmission fluid a little bit more periodically than what's recommended. You might also want to drop the transmission pan and clean out these magnets, because material floating around inside of there is not good for these components. Also make sure you get the belt recall done, and please check your transmission fluid periodically because transmissions can definitely leak. It's not a sealed system. Make sure you subscribe if you want to see more videos just like this one.